I find that you have answered most of the queries that we had received with regard to online education, blended learning, with regard to the internships, the career support. So there's clarity about that. And I'd like the participants to know that for the very specific questions, you will have very specific responses from the panelists. And they have already offered it, and their emails and connects are on the Q&A section. A question that I would request you all to answer now, because almost every participant has asked it, is what are the scholarship possibilities in your respective countries, and particularly during COVID times, which have led to financial losses on families? How would students be able to make it cost benefit proposition in terms of getting world class education and being also able to afford it? Is Peter on board?
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. So, Peter, we would like to hear from you about the scholarships and the employment possibilities in Finland for students who study there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know the
yeah, I think that scholarships, of course, one part of it, but I think that you need to look at also like the total costs and education in Finland. Our universities, if you look at kind of global picture, is very affordable. So basically from like 8,000 euros a year to then like 15,000 depending on the school. So that is kind of like a starting point, and it's all available in English. So that was also asked about. But then I think there are many different scholarships. So it really, of course, depends on the school, and there's a lot of different scholarships for like different programs and different reasons. So you can find out a lot about that if you go to edunation.co. So that has a list of many programs, many scholarships, and all of that. Then also I think what is very important that of course it's not just about fantastic education, it's also about fantastic jobs. And right now there is a huge shortage of talent in Finland, and I would say most of Europe. We have aging populations and not growing populations. So I think in the tech industry alone in Finland we have about 50,000 jobs that need to be filled over the next few years. And the same story is true in many different areas. And here you can study and work, and also after you complete your studies you can stay in Finland to start with 2 years, and that can then of course be extended. So I think that the situation on the job side is also very good. Of course the COVID-19 impacts the global economy, so it's always difficult to say how the future will play out, but I think that right now it looks like Northern Europe, Nordic countries are doing very well in recovering from the crisis, and we have started opening up the borders now to many countries. So I think that India is still not on the list, but hopefully we can get the COVID under control there as well. I mean, China was just open, so that is there, and I think that Vietnam is coming soon, and so on. So most of Asia you will be able to travel to and back and forth, from Finland. So I think that situation is getting better. But yes, I would say overall the situation is looking very bright.
Thank you for that. I'm sure the listeners have found this very heartening to know that the education is reasonable and there's job possibilities once they graduate. We also learned that while students are studying in Finland in the higher educational institutions, they get to work alongside as a part of their course. Is that so, Peter? Could you give us clarity?
Yes, so if you look at, for example, our universities, applied sciences, then it's mandatory to work as part of the studies. So that is actually a requirement for then graduating. So that is part of the program. And then also you are allowed to work, besides your studies. So that's something that is widely used then to kind of like also fund part of the studies or all of the studies that you can study and work at the same time. But yeah, many universities, in many of the programs, a mandatory kind of like internship is part of the studies.
Thank you. Because in India, very few undergraduate students get work experience.
Mm-hmm.
And in all the countries represented here today, students get to have that essential undergraduate work experience that makes them future ready for careers. Scott talked about the co-op, which is unique to Canada. And in US, Amber, you have the OPT, optional professional training. So I wanted to generally ask Scott and Amber about scholarship possibilities in Canadian universities. In US universities, we do know that you have need blind scholarships and other scholarships. So, whereas Scott, you could talk about scholarships, you've already spoken about co op. Amber, we'd like to know more about the OPT scenario because we hear that that's also perhaps an uncertain entity under the present regime. So, first, Scott, some insights about scholarships in Canada.
Thank you. Yeah. Scholarships in Canada are going to vary widely by institution. So there are a limited number of sort of nationally funded scholarships for incoming international students. What I can tell you about the University of Waterloo is that we do have an array of entry scholarships that are automatic for all students. So international students are equally awarded these, just the same as domestic students. And that's across all faculties. Then there are an array of faculty-specific scholarships. So for instance, the Faculty of Mathematics, which includes our computer science program, has an array of fairly substantial scholarships that are based on both academic merit as well as your accomplishments in the field of computer science or mathematics, your performance on things like our well-known Euclid mathematics test and so on. Peter made a really good point earlier around the total cost of a university as well, and that's something that I'd encourage everybody to look at. Behavior that some universities have is that they will offer an entry scholarship that applies for the first year that may or may not be renewable for subsequent years, and that's something that I'd encourage everybody to look at because the cost of university goes on beyond first year. And additionally, the cost of a university over time tends to be an increasing number. So many universities will increase tuition fees year over year. Our institution in particular, we have a sort of cap on how much it will inflate for continuing students, but then for new students, that's a bit more of a moving target across most institutions. For Waterloo in particular, because we are a co-op institution, one conversation I'll have with parents sometimes is there's a cash flow benefit to our co-op program. So again, with a co-op program at Waterloo, your degree actually takes about 8 months longer to complete because once you start, you're alternating 4 months of school, 4 months of paid full-time employment where you're earning $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or sometimes more per month at this full-time paid job in Canada. Once the borders open up again, we'll have them in the United States. We got a ton of kids working in Silicon Valley and New York City and Houston and so on. But because you get that alternating happening, there's normally in third year, you're only paying for 1 semester of tuition because 2 semesters out of the 3, you're working, earning money, getting that work experience and so on. So I think that's a factor. And then again, I'd also reiterate the value of the ability to work while you're in school. Certainly not something I would try in first year, especially coming from an environment like India where the norm is not often to have part-time jobs or other things like that going on while you're in high school. I wouldn't do it necessarily in first year, but in subsequent years, once you've sort of got a grip on the transition to university, there's a ton of opportunities to work on most university campuses, not just Waterloo. And if you can successfully balance working part-time with your studies, not only is it a good chance to make money, but I did it myself. I worked, I think, 3 jobs when I was an undergraduate psychology student back in the 1990s when dinosaurs roamed the earth. But it was a chance to make friends and meet people and sort of engage with campus as well. So that's my spiel on that.
Thank you so much, Scott. That was a great insight. Amber, regarding OPT and any other inputs?
Of course. So I'll start. Yes, OPT is quite popular. And so if you study in the United States currently, if you get a degree that's in a STEM area, you can work for 3 years. And if it's in non-STEM, you get 1 year, and it's called optional practical training. It has been something that's been talked about recently. Quite honestly, who knows what will happen? I'm interested to see how maybe November might impact what the next 4 years and so might look like in the United States, especially for our incoming students. But that being said, I always encourage students to keep in mind that no country can guarantee these things for you in perpetuity. We can tell you what's happening now, but that could change.
Yes.
And I think the United States is a good example of that right now. I can tell you what's happening now, but I think we all know that things might change a bit in the future. I imagine that I do think it's unlikely for OPT to go away. It's quite popular. However, I think that as the economy shifts a little bit, it could be more competitive in the next couple years to get a job for everyone. I remember I graduated from university right around the 2008 financial crisis, and it was real hard to find a job. In fact, I just went and got my master's instead after a bit because even as a US citizen, it was competitive for me to find something. And so students should consider that as well. When you're making a financial decision and a future decision to go study somewhere, while you should definitely consider work opportunities, that's very important and kind of what your earning potential is after you graduate. You should also keep in mind kind of what your investment is, and in that is not a guarantee in most places because administration shifts and goals shift, and that could shift for you too. And that's a bleak outlook, but I think being realistic is quite important. That being said, the experiences that you get don't necessarily have to just be through OPT, and many of our students on our campus will, kind of like Scott was saying, get jobs while they're here. It's very popular to work part-time while you're on campus. The US is also very good at emphasizing the out of classroom experiences that you're going to get while you're studying. And so the vast majority of my students are highly involved. One of my students he just finished his freshman year. He's from India. He's a part of our student council for the university already. And in his role, he's been talking to the university president. He's been talking to deans. He's been coordinating webinars. One of my other students is very into entrepreneurship. He's setting up a speaker series. He told me yesterday that he's talking to the head of communications and marketing for Airbnb to coordinate a marketing series where he's the one doing this now as a just finished freshman. And these are experiences that no matter where you go or what you do, you get to take that with you. And that's going to really change the trajectory of your career and your path later too. And I would encourage you, whether you come to the United States or go to another area, because I'm not one to say that the US is better than anywhere else. It's not, it's just a little bit different. And there's a right fit for everyone. And that might be Finland, it might be Canada, it might be the UK. You need to do the investigation to find what's best for you. But no matter where you go, take advantage of those other opportunities, because the things that you're doing to differentiate yourself and to get those other experiences, those are what are going to set you up for success later, more than specific visa opportunities or anything else. It's the things that you learn through the experiences. And students can take that back to India if they want. They can take that to another country. Nobody can take that away from you, essentially.
Very practical and pragmatic approach, Amber, and advice that I'm sure is going to help students to realize that there are so many other factors that contribute to making them future ready, and they have to make the most of opportunities that are offered in all these excellent institutions in the countries represented here. Also, we need to know that the only constant is change. And to be future ready, we've got to be flexible, versatile, resilient. And the coronavirus has taught us how important it is to be resilient, also to see opportunity in adversity, and to look at what's coming up next. To be future ready, we need to keep tracking the change and embracing the newer courses that are relevant and required. So it's been a very, very engaging session today with all our very eminent resource persons and panelists. Before we leave, I would request all of you to say something to your audience, anything that you wish to say to inspire them, to encourage them. And I know you've got a huge fan following now. Thank you for sharing your IDs, your information details, because I know the students are going to be directly in touch with you. It's been an awesome session, so much learning. So we would conclude with each one of you empowering the students with something that you want to add to what has happened today. So we start with Peter.
Yeah, so I think that there was a question about, like dreams and, all of that. And I think that no matter what, I mean, you should pursue your dream and, COVID or not, I mean, these things come and go. So I think that is very, very important. And of course, like being from Finland, I have to mention that here in Finland, you don't have to be a white 70-some-year-old male to become the leader of the country. You can be like female and 35. So that's perfectly okay. And I hope that we'll see that in the future in some other countries as well. And November 3rd is a very important date in some countries. So I would say that typically people are very nice everywhere, and we shouldn't judge, like the various regimes and like what they say. And I actually have to share a story here that I was invited to a friend of mine in Beijing to his house. And then we had a barbecue with his wife and kids. And then we were standing there waiting for like the hot dogs or, the hamburgers to get ready. And then he said that, oh, he has some friends, like in Japan. And he said that they are actually very nice people. Mm-hmm. And with China and Japan, there has been some like challenges in during history. And then I said that, hey, I actually have many friends in Japan, and they are very nice. And I have many friends in India, in Japan, in the US, in China. And I think that my experience is that people are very, very nice everywhere. And I mean, this is something that we should keep in mind. And I think that this is, again, so, definitely go pursue your dream, no matter where it is. I think that is the most important thing. And don't always kind of like then get stressed by what you see in the media. I mean, people are nice everywhere. So that's what I would like to finish with here.
Thank you so much. Amber mentions that she may have to leave. So Amber, thank you. That was very, very inspiring. If you can dream it, you can do it. I believe that, and it really works. Amber, over to you.
Sorry, guys, I've got another session coming up, but I do want to thank you all for coming. I love what Peter said. I think that's really important. And I think the only thing that I would add to build on that is when I get down because I'm watching too much news or because I see what's going on around me, what lifts me up the most is talking to students like you, because even when I am feeling so frustrated and worried, I think that students have a very clear vision of what they want for the future, and it's a beautiful thing. And I know that the world is in good hands. And so keep pushing for what you think is right. Keep an open mind. And I look forward to living in the world that you guys build.
Great, thank you. Looking forward to being in touch. Stay for as long as you can. And when you leave, we realize you had to leave. Nilanjana, over to you.
I will also build on what Peter started. I think that's a very good thought, to remain positive, and also the fact that no matter how big a crisis, how phenomenal a crisis it might seem, but every crisis brings some kind of learning. And I think what this pandemic has brought is to be as prepared as possible for the unexpected, and to focus more on innovation. It will always bring a learning. So it is not the end of the world. It is only going to bring something productive. I think if we look around us, I personally, if I see, I think I am very grateful for the time I'm getting with the family. We have got a break from, incessant travel that we used to do. We used to complain then that this travel never ends. But I am really valuing the time now. It is giving me some time to be with myself, with my family, while also doing the work. So I think if we look for positives, we will find it. And it will, I think it should always bring something positive for everyone. That is all that I would.
Thank you, Nilanjana. It makes all the difference, doesn't it? Thank you for that. I mean, all of these are such wonderful gems that we will be able to take home with us. Sandeep.
Well, I mean, a lot of ground covered with that. So I have a little bit more positivity to sort of shower your way. But I think more importantly, just want to say thank you because I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to my fellow panelists, learn so much, and Dr. Das. I mean, thanks so much for that inspiring conversation and for building this up. I think entrepreneurship is lies at the heart of how people emerge as leaders. And when I look at Peter and what he's developed, and I mean, most of our institutions offer entrepreneurship as a program, but even Dr. Das with her ICS movement, it's created so many avenues for students to essentially learn and come and take advice. I think education during pandemics are a great way to come across as someone who is belligerent and someone who actually worked hard to cut the tide. So as I think Amber mentioned that she graduated during the 2006 financial crisis. I graduated around that time as well. So did so many other students. And it was quite tough. And students who are graduating this year, they might feel they're the first ones, but not really. A lot of people have undergone similar things in life. So find your passion, stick to it, and try and spend as much time as you can constructively. Luckily, you've got blended and online. During the 2006 crisis, there was there was nothing like that. So with every crisis, there is an opportunity. So that's my signing off note. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Scott, your signing off note.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the chance to speak with all of you and to share this airtime with my colleagues. Honestly, I would suggest that all of the institutions, all the countries here, you're going to get an excellent education at any of them. These are good countries to live in. As Peter suggested, these are countries full of nice people that are going to be delighted to welcome you. And I think thinking about imagining myself as an international student, realistically, if you've got the money and the grades, you can get into almost any university in the world, and you might almost have too many options. And I think that forces you as a student to try and use some filters to figure out where the heck are you going to go. And it might be based on the country, it might be based on rankings. And that's another crazy thing that I've been doing this for about 7 years after a career in the technology industry. And the thing that, so I have some understanding of numbers. What kind of freaks me out a bit is that I hear students and parents obsessing about rankings and, oh, this university is number 78 and this number's 156 or 222. The reality is, if you're in the top 300 or so universities on most of these rankings, you're talking about the top 1% of all universities in the world. So trying to differentiate between them is like trying to decide which grain of sand is larger when really you're talking about a beach. So I would suggest to look a little deeper, look at the institution, look at the city you're going to be living in, look at the experience, because again, regardless of where you go, you're going to be spending 4 or 5 years of your life. And for you as a 17-year-old student, that's like a quarter of your life by the time you're done. You should be happy. It's not just about the outcome or the job you hope to get or the ranking or the degree program. You should probably enjoy your life over that period at some level. And again, I'm a little biased because of Waterloo and the co-op experience, but whether it's a co-op job or an internship or working on campus or working with a professor in a lab, I'd encourage you to get some experience of some sort while you're in your university career. Again, the biggest value to me about a program like Waterloo is it's not just a linear path where I get this co-op job and then that co-op job, and you've got this outcome, this vision of the specific magical job you want after graduation. That might happen, but what's more likely to happen is that it's like you go to a buffet or you go to a tasting menu and you taste this career and you taste this job and you taste this kind of company. You might find out that you thought you wanted to be a chemical engineer working for Dow, and you get a co-op job with a company like Dow, and turns out that was crappy. You didn't like that at all. That's important information. That's like the science of building your career. In science, negative results in a lab are just as important as the positive ones. You're hoping for that ultimate proof of your hypothesis. You're hoping that you discover what you're looking for, but all the ways that you fail are just as important in knowing that was not an appropriate way to do that. So to sum up, I would say, don't be solely outcome-based. Don't focus on all the numbers and the metrics. Go a little deeper when you're choosing university, and don't forget the journey. My God, I mean, if you're not having a good time at some level, I'm not saying party all the time, because you want to be successful, but don't forget the journey. Enjoy yourself, stop, look around, make some friends, do all that good stuff, regardless of where you go.
That is so beautiful, to enjoy the journey, to enjoy the process, and to grow with every step of that journey that you take. Thank you. It's important to go beyond statistics, go beyond ranking, to look at the more qualitative aspects of education. Thank you for that, Scott. Over to you, Anju. Last but not the least.
Thank you, Dr. Das. And thanks, Scott, for giving the lead. I was just thinking exactly on the same lines. I was just wanting to, convey the exact same message, which was a lot of students. I've been talking to a lot of students day in, day out, to the, parents as well. And most of them are just focusing on the destination. Nobody's talking about the journey here. So enjoying the journey is the most important part of your lives. Just enjoy it. Destination would definitely come if you are just, treating towards it. So what I am telling students is, of course, it's a very, very difficult time for all of us, adults, parents, kids, everyone, especially for kids. I mean, I have a 12, daughter who has just passed from a school, and I see how frustrated she is not able to meet her friends and things like that. So what I tell her and to all the students is, of course, 3 Ps: find your passion, be patient, and try to just stick to your passions and be positive that you will definitely achieve it one day, and that will definitely take you through, and take one day at a time. That will definitely be the best strategy. That is something I am following. If I think too much into the future, I get really, really feel very demotivated and discouraged. So one day at a time, and you will sail through this situation as well. So thank you, Dr. Das, for this wonderful, wonderful platform. I really enjoyed listening to Peter, Scott, my colleague Sandeep, and Nilanjana and Amber. I'm so ever grateful for this opportunity. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much. It's been an amazing conversation, and I would say most empowering, inspiring, informative, and all of us have learned a lot. And I think this is just the beginning of our journey together, and looking forward to a long and, I would say, meaningful association as we together guide our students, the younger generation, for a beautiful life ahead, for a meaningful life, a splendid future of happiness, of success, of fulfillment, of finding their true callings in life and being happy. Thank you very much, Peter, Nilanjana, Sandeep, Scott, Amber, Anju. It's been an amazing session. Thank you very much, participants, for being with us, for your questions. I hope we were able to respond to most of them, but I promise you all your questions will be answered. And I would like to thank the panelists again for generously sharing their details so that you can be directly in touch with them. All the best. It's been such a memorable evening of conversation. The webinar has taken us to another level of awareness of how to make informed choices, how to fine tune those choices to our own frequency, and to be happy and successful and fulfilled in life. On behalf of ICS, once again, infinite thanks for making it so special and for making this journey an amazing one, an incredible one, and looking forward to being in touch with you. Thank you all.